In this video, we explore synchronicity. What is it? How does it work? Is synchronicity a coincidence, or is there something more? Is there some kind of divine intervention going on in life? These topics and more coming up. Laura, lovely to speak to you. We're going deep this time.
Yes.
Talk to me about synchronicity. Firstly, what is it?
So these are the times in our lives where things are happening and they just click. And some of us are paying attention and just think, how lucky am I? Others of us are realizing there's a pattern and we start acting on it. And the question is, what end of the spectrum are you on in noticing it and doing something with it?
Let's say for a second that you are someone who does notice these synchronicities. What's the path forward here? How can you arguably create a flow in which this happens more consistently?
Yeah, so this is the kind of thing where I used to need 5 or 6 points of contact before I would act on something that was guiding me. I've narrowed it down to sometimes down to 3, 2, and even 1. When an idea comes and I know it's in the right place, I just go with it. And sometimes it may not make sense in the moment, but there's an instinct of my inner sage that's in play because it's just really clear. And I can't sometimes explain it, but I think we all have it. And the question is, how well do we trust it?
Let's talk about this synchronicity.
Yeah.
This idea of intuition. Is this something that comes from self? Is it some kind of divine intervention? What's this all about from that context?
Yeah, so there's a book called Synchronicity by a gentleman, the last name Jarowski. And I think he does a very masterful job at being able to identify and really help us taking the top 50 thinkers from around the world in different industries, from the arts to the sciences, math, and looking at it from where are the inspirations of these breakthrough ideas? Where do they come from? And how do you synthesize it down? And really what it comes down to is paying attention to those moments where we don't allow the ego to take over and say no. It's those first 5 seconds and allowing our trusting ourselves to act on them.
I love the first 5 seconds, by the way.
Yeah.
For those who didn't see the other video, we're talking about the 5 seconds before your brain kicks in.
Yes.
Its sense of self-preservation.
Yes.
And says, nope.
Yep.
The 5 seconds before, that spark, if you will. Talk to me about the relationship between synchronicity and what people perceive as coincidences in life.
So I think a coincidence, people just assume it just happened and there's no rhyme or reason to it. Where synchronicity is you're realizing there's something here. There's something going on that you have showed up in my life. I think, for example, it's been synchronistic that you and I have connected. What were the chances that after I wrote a book that your colleague found my book online and then...
Within, by the way, weeks.
Within weeks of it. And then us being able to put the pieces together to work. I don't think it was just happenstance. I think it was actually very intentional that you've been put in my path. And so now we get to create this opportunity to get, I would never have been able to do what I'm doing today had it not been for you. And the work we're doing, good plug for you though, but it's true though, about being able to get this out into the world in the way where I want millions to see it and take advantage of it so they can start using it right away.
And then arguably from there, further connections we're making, through and with each other and the further opportunities that are unfolding.
Absolutely, and I don't think any of it is random.
I'm on the same page with that one.
Yeah.
I appreciate other people would see it differently. Can you talk to me a little bit then about a flow state?
Yes.
And I want to ask just if there's certainly people think of this in a personal context.
Yeah.
They think, okay, this coincidence happened in my personal life, this thing. But can you talk to me about this in a business or leadership context as well?
Yeah.
So to speak, is there such a thing as a synchronistic business?
Interesting.
And is that my next book? Your next book?
I don't know, but I like the idea. I'll bet on this one. I think this is where the more people are attuned to what they think is random in showing up in business and consumers, feedback, for instance, when we start seeing patterns and themes, people like to have data and they like to have a lot of it.
Right.
But there's at a point where Malcolm Gladwell talks about it in like Outliers or in a Tipping Point, and his books around taking data in. And then there's something where he talks about the instant reaction that we just know a certain way to go without all the data. So I think in business, it's being able to have both. Yes, you need the data, but then there's the intuition, the trust, the synchronicity you will need to be able to honor as well. And I think great leaders, coming back to a conversation about that, are the ones that can recognize where data ends and intuition starts, and then being able to act on it and do something that we talked about earlier of a test and measure. And the test and measure is just go for it and try it out and see how it works. It doesn't mean you're marrying this idea. It means that you're doing just enough to see, do you have something in concept, like a fail-fast concept when they do prototyping.
All right, last quick question about
Yeah.
synchronicity. You are the author of a variety of books under the Purpose Guide banner, a pocket guide to purpose, for example. Is there a connection between purpose and synchronicity?
I believe so, with regard to when you start getting clear about your purpose, things start showing up. Your intentions get more clear, and those things that you want to have happen start falling in place. Some might think it's random. I actually think that when you have more clarity, you tend to attract more of what you want to have happen. You know, what I joke about is the red Volkswagen syndrome. You're going out and all of a sudden you are going to buy that red Volkswagen and you start seeing them everywhere. We are getting tuned in to a frequency of something that we want to have happen. Getting clear about our purpose is tuning into the frequency of how we want our life to unfold and where we want to make impact. I think the synchronicity folds right in.
So the more self-knowledge, the more exploration of purpose,
Yes.
arguably the more synchronistic our life might be.
Yes.
That was deep. For those of you who'd like to find out more, please visit us online at purposestone.com. Also, feel free to like this video, share this video if you have any questions in the comments section below, and of course, subscribe to our YouTube channel.